I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to Financial Lovemaking, where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. I'm here with my buddy, my co-host, Miss S. Tia Brown, out of New York. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing great. Great, great, great. Happy Monday. It's the
Thank you,
beginning of
thank
the
you,
week.
thank
Super
you.
excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's graduation season, and as a professor, and which really being a professor is a lot like being a lifelong student, except you get paid to go to school. Like that's kind of the difference. Like
Reverse.
yeah, it's I'm really I think people should be jealous of me because I feel like I never left college. I really do.
Aw.
And I'm 42 years old, still in college. So I don't know. That either means I've lived a fantasy or my growth has been severely stunted. I'll take either one. Now, you and I were talking about graduation stuff, and 50 Cent, this brilliant rapper with a lot of money who is finding that money doesn't solve all of his problems. What were you telling me about this? What happened?
So there's been reports online saying that 50 Cent did not attend his son Marquise's high school graduation. Now, we have to say allegedly because with Photoshop and fake internet accounts, we don't know 100% if this is the truth. But we're going to operate today for the sake of conversation as if this is the truth. Now, we know that 50 Cent has had an estranged relationship with his son and his ex-girlfriend over the last few years, and it's played out very publicly. Money obviously has been one of the issues, and he's accused his ex of using the son as a pawn. Online, his son said, I'm very hurt that my dad didn't attend the graduation. And I was really touched by that because I think it's so rare that boys speak out about their feelings. A lot of times in relationships, we're taught that boys are supposed to be strong, men are supposed to be strong and not show their softer side. So, I think this is a financial lovemaking issue because while most people aren't millionaires, so many of us are dealing with blended families and child support and things like that. And it's so important to really put the child's needs above ego in every situation. And I think we instinctually go to just blaming 50 Cent, but this is a relationship that has two components. So I always encourage women, don't use your child as a pawn in a relationship. And I encourage the men to be bigger people, right? So both of them have to show a certain level of maturity when it comes to dealing with finances and nurturing a child. We know that parents are the first attachment, first sense of self-esteem, first sense of self. So when you are not able to participate in key moments like that, it's a major rejection for the child. So I encourage all parents, mothers, fathers, whether you're the custodial parent or not, always put the child's needs first.
Hmm.
What do you think,
Well,
Boyce?
I mean, I think that I think is universally true, and it's something that I think has been forgotten. I think we live in a world where um, we don't feel that we have to put the child's needs first. I think we live in a world that's far more selfish than the world our parents and grandparents lived in. For example, my mother said, a few times. She said, I gave birth to you at the age of 17, and I can tell you that, today, if there were an abortion clinic nearby and somebody told me how much of an inconvenience it might have been, I would have been tempted to just terminate and just move on because I had too many important things to do. But at
Wow.
that time, when I grew up, that just wasn't how we thought. We felt like a child coming into your life was a blessing, and it was a responsibility, and that your needs had to come second to the child. And again, this is not a statement about abortion or whether it's good or bad, pro-choice, pro-life. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is most of us have really forgotten, I think, and we don't care much about what it truly means to be a good parent. Good parenting is not a series of feel-good moments with a cute little baby who's going to love you no matter what. Good parenting is discipline, doing the stuff you don't want to do, making those really uncomfortable choices that are going to be best for the long-term benefit of the child. No one can look at this situation between 50 Cent, and this isn't just about 50. There's a lot of these cases all around the country. That's what we're really talking about. No one can really look at this situation and say, oh yeah, the child's really going to be better off 10, 15 years from now because his parents are fighting like cats and dogs. Like no one's going to can say that, right? So
Absolutely.
we know that the kid's getting screwed here. And he's getting screwed because two people got together and screwed and didn't think about the long-term implications of that union. The other financial lovemaking lesson that I'm really seeing from this is I constantly let people know the easiest way to destroy your finances is to have children out of wedlock. I'm not judging it. I'm not thumping a Bible at anybody. This is not a morality speech. This is really a conversation about, man, you are going to be in big trouble financially when you're raising this child without any help, or you're getting your butt kicked by the child support courts. And then on top of that,
Both lose.
right,
And
you
both parties lose.
exactly, you're losing. The loss is huge financially. I mean, I know guys who owe child support and cannot recover financially from that because
Right.
they get so far. It's like getting behind with the IRS. You know how celebrities, because they make so much money, they can get so far behind with the IRS and never get caught up. Like we talked about Mekhi Phifer and how he owes over $1 million to the IRS.
Right.
Well, if you owe over $1 million to the IRS, then $200,000 income isn't, that you can't do much damage on, $1 million debt because you're so far behind. Well, child support courts kind of have that same compilation effect, especially if you have multiple kids with multiple partners. That they're going to suck that money out of you so fast you're not ever going to be able to build wealth. And then on top of that, for that non-custodial parent who is paying child support on a bunch of kids, you're going to lose out emotionally too. Because guess what? This is a fact. I think we can agree on this too. The most powerful person in the universe of a child is the mother. The mother is the queen and the king, and she reigns supreme in the thinking of that child. So if you owe child support and have had a child with a woman who it does not allow you to have some authority in the life of that child, you're out. If every day if that child's picking up on signals from the mother that she doesn't respect you, or that or she somehow gives the child the right to decide if he wants to be around you, then you're going to be left out. Because when that child gets to you, by the time that child gets around you, you could be the greatest
Yeah.
human being on the planet. That child will not respect you. They will not like you. Why? Because their mother gave them permission to feel that way about you. So without addressing whether or not this is what's going on with 50 Cent's situation, we don't know what's happening here. We know
Well,
we know 50 Cent. You mentioned 50 Cent's beef with, and then you didn't finish the sentence. I said his beef with everybody, with
right.
the universe.
Right.
50 beefs with everybody. He's fighting with everybody all the time. So we don't know what's going on with 50 Cent, but I think in these situations they're so complicated that we really never know exactly what's happening.
I agree. You made so many great points right now. I'm trying to remember all of them. One of the first things I want to address, and this is to all of the women out there, you made a comment about mothers having the most influence. And I'll update that by saying the custodial parent has the most influence, because it's not always mothers, but for the large percentage of the time it is. And I just want to call out to all of those mothers who are doing double duty because they have physical custody of the child to step away from the pain of not having the relationship work out and making sure that they put the child's needs above their hurt. And that is such a big thing, because these moms are selfless in so many other ways with their time and with their finances. But be selfless with your hurt. Don't pass that to your child. So don't do some of the things that Boyce talked about that some women do, which is sabotage the relationship with the father, because that child identifies half of who they are with who that person is. And then for the parent who's outside of the household, I want to remind them, that person who has custody is doing the lion's share of the labor, whether it's by choice or by circumstance, right? And it's up to you to model good behavior for that child. Sometimes being right isn't the most important thing. The big win is making sure that that child feels loved and secured and nurtured and all those good things. So sometimes you might have to take an L on the ego to make sure that that child looks good, feels good rather. So, in graduation season, I really want parents to be mindful of that day is to celebrate that child's accomplishment and to let them know that both people who have made them identify with the greatness that is that kid and are supporting them. And those self-esteem moments travel with that child for the rest of their life. So I definitely want to encourage parents to, be selfless, not just on that day, but definitely during that time. And financially, I want to encourage guys to, because usually women do have custody of the child, not to fall victim to the fear of going to court and being proactive. Because, as a single woman, I've dated many guys who have children who the mother might have primary physical custody. And there's such a big difference in how things snowball when you back off because of fear in the beginning. If you try to run from something, it's only going to catch up and just be bigger and bigger. So be proactive in the beginning. And again, continue to put the child's needs first. It's not about the mom's ego. It's not about the dad's ego. It's about building a healthy ego for that child. Financially, you can't do anything once the child is here. There is a computation that the courts have created, which, no one can change. The only thing you can do is make the best of that situation. So for all of those fathers who are in the situation that we perceive 50 Cent to be in right now, be the bigger person. Show up. You're teaching your son what it's like to be a man on so many different levels. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. Mm-hmm. You can be right in the situation between the mom, but winning the war is being right for your child. What do you think, Boyce?
Well, I agree. I mean, you said it all, and the only last thing I'll add is that, I think doing what's best for the child is something that has to remain paramount. I don't think people they don't distinguish between what's going to make the child happy right now versus what's going to make the child happy 10, 15 years from now. I don't know too many kids who are happier because they didn't have a father in their life. And that's just a reality. Even if the father is a piece of crap, even if the father is the worst jerk in the world, it's very rare that your child is clearly better off because you took the father out of their life. And if that's the case, then you should have taken the father out of your life when you let him enter his penis inside your vagina. Period. That's just reality. And so, the other interesting thing, I'll give you one great example of something that I saw that I think can be a prototype of what makes sense in raising a child. I knew a young lady whose father had a life sentence in prison, and he was a drug dealer, and he wasn't considered a model citizen, and he was, and he had a lot of issues, a lot of psychological issues. And in case people if you've ever dealt with someone who's been incarcerated for a long period of time, unfortunately, sometimes the mental illness can get worse because of the horrible torture that they put people through in prison. But the entire time that this child grew up, she said that my mother always made sure I respected my father. Even though they weren't together, even though she couldn't stand him, even though she didn't want to talk to him, she thought he was half crazy. I figured out he was half crazy, but she always made sure that I sent him a Father's Day card. She always made sure I sent him a birthday card. She would give me a spanking if I didn't call him, on holidays. And as a result, she is to this day still very close to her father. She still respects her father, and they have a good relationship. He's still crazy. He's still weird. Most of us have a weird relative in our family. Right. But think about that crazy uncle or that mother or father or relative that is a little bit off or is a little bit mean or whatever. You would not be better off with that person out of your life most of the time. I mean, you're happy that they're there, So this whole thing where we think children are power, that somehow we're making a child's life better off by saying, well, I would let his father come around, but his father's not responsible, or his father's not going to teach him the right things. Who are you really to make that judgment? And what you got to understand is that you're probably, if you're not careful, you could be planting the seeds of mental illness that are not going to sprout until 10, 15 years down the line. And your child will never tell you because 9 times out of 10, they don't come back and figure out, first of all, they got to figure out why they're half crazy when they're 30, 31 years old and can't keep a man. But then they have to have the courage to come back to you and tell you what you did wrong. They're not going to do that.
And this doesn't just affect daughters, it's also
daughters, sons, everybody. And I'm not just right. So I agree with you.
It's a very careful. It's not one brush that we can apply to every situation. Obviously, if you feel that there's a safety issue with your child being around their parent, you have to do things to put precautions in place because children can be very vulnerable. So if you feel physical safety, sexual safety, that's one thing. However, if you feel like another parent isn't being a parent the way that you think they should be a parent, or they're not doing the things that you want them to do for you, it is unfair for you to punish the child by preventing that parent from being an influence in their life. Even more, it actually sabotages that child's ability to love themselves, to make healthy relationships, and to have self-esteem. So parents who think that they're doing their child this great service, they're really doing a disservice by being so selfish.
That's right.
And it's a really hard thing to do because it's hard to put someone's needs completely above your want, your ego, and your hurt. But pushing past that will just create such a greater response, at the end. And what you want ultimately is a healthy adult. And one other thing that you said that really caught my attention is that eventually kids figure out who their parents are. We don't have to tell kids, your dad is bad or your mom is this. As kids get older, they really start to figure things out. It's up to you to allow them the opportunity to do that.
Right. I think they figure things out if you let them have the opportunity.
I
But
absolutely
if you figure it out and you're feeding them propaganda from the time they're born, there's a good chance they may believe a lie until the day they're dead. And
agree.
that's another reality too.
And it
So
absolutely sabotages, like you said, their self-esteem, their ability to relate with others, and ultimately the relationship even with the custodial parent. So, my final thought to all of you guys listening, if you know someone in this situation, or if you're in this situation, push past the hurt and try to do what's in the best interest of the child. What do you think, Boyce?
absolutely, I agree. And
Yeah.
I'm going to stop talking because I know you are a busy woman. You got stuff to do. But yeah, I think this is a great conversation, and I hope people will take it seriously and take it with a grain of salt. This is our 2 cents, but we're hoping that we can help some people with these
Yeah,
discussions. So
definitely,
so
definitely.
so thank you very much, Tia.
Until next time.
This was fun as always.
Yes, please write in and tell us your thoughts. And until next time, everyone have a great day. Thank you.
All right, bye bye.